As we sit 48 hours before the start of the elective conference, the ANC's 54th elective conference, and just, I think, the two front runners that one can safely say heading up to the leadership position of the ANC, Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma and, of course, our Deputy President, Cyril Ramaphosa. On a side note, we have an exclusive one-on-one interview with our Deputy President, Cyril Ramaphosa, at 7 o'clock this evening in studio on Primetime News, so do tune in for that one. But right now, let's go back to Nasrec. We've got Peter Ndoro, who's holding the fort down there for us, just talking to some analysts ahead of the start of the conference. Peter.
Leanne, thanks very much indeed. Yeah, it's still pretty calm as it was. The sun is coming out and, yeah, one's getting a sense of something is going to start happening in the next day or so. But let's catch up with our commentators once again. And Dr. Pete and Professor Siposiebe, there's been some significant developments that took place this week. We had the judgment from the North Gauteng High Court yesterday. And I just wonder, is this an influential event, or is it just an event and it's not going to influence what's happening here?
Well, at the political level, what the judge confirmed is a position that the ANC had already agreed to, even that the president himself had agreed to, that there will be a commission of inquiry, a judicial commission of inquiry. The issue that was at stake is how is it going to be managed? Is it going to be managed in the same way as Thuli Madonsela had actually said? Because what she had also made, and the court agreed with her, is that there is a conflict of interest in this matter. But at the same time, the president was saying, in terms of the constitution, the president is the one who appoints. So there was a need to clarify that. But what the judge was not pleased with is that if you had agreed on this position, it would have been good for you to have acted in a manner that suggests that you are going that route. Instead, the way the court read it, it was almost like the president is delaying deliberately, and hence the issue of cost. And there are some people who are saying they are happy with the courts thing. What they're not happy with is that sometimes when you go to court to seek clarity. So it is a question of how you frame your arguments in the courts. So that is where the penalty to the president came in. But the long and short of it, politically, the position was very clear for the president, it was very clear for the ANC, it was very clear for the alliance that there will be a judicial commission of inquiry, and the court simply affirmed that.
Peter, another way of looking at your question is, of course, what consequences does it have for the two candidates, for either of the two candidates? And we always said that because of the close association between Dlamini Zuma and President Zuma, that whatever he says and whatever he does, what happens to him will have consequences for her. I think her political campaign has got a life of its own as well now. I think if the people that have to make the decision eventually will now judge her based on what they think will be the aftermath, how will she manage the ANC, what will happen to the ANC, what will happen to the country, what will happen to economic policy, vis-a-vis that Cyril Ramaphosa proposes. So I think her campaign has taken on a life of its own. I do not necessarily think that what has happened in court now with Jacob Zuma will affect her very specifically during this, at least this leadership conference.
The last time we spoke about unity, and we'll have a proper conversation a little bit later on, but can they get it right in this conference?
Well, they have to think about the organization first. They have to look at what happened in the last local elections. And they need to understand that there will be the ANC, as Pete was indicating, that whether in the form of coalition, whether in the form of opposition or as a ruling party. So if they focus on that, and I think these guys need to remember that they are comrades, and that the historic mission is the people. In the last 2 years, the focus was more on internal problems than on your client. And you should know that the people are the ones that must come first. The question is whether in the opening address, the president will succeed in doing that, the Secretary General, to remind people of why the ANC exists. And one gets a sense that at the moment, it has become more personality-driven and more self-interest-driven. So if they can shift around that, then there's a possibility of unity. But I don't, actually, I'm not that hopeful.
I think there is. You must remember, David Mabuza was nominated for deputy president by most candidates, but neither Ramaphosa nor Dlamini Zuma wants anything to do with him at all, which I wouldn't be surprised. What happened is, say for instance Ramaphosa gets elected as the president on the second day of the conference. Then there's another day before the deputies are elected. During that time, I wouldn't be surprised if the conference agrees we will nominate Dlamini Zuma as his deputy. And then you have a unity candidate. If it happens the other way around, I'm not sure Ramaphosa is interested in becoming the deputy again. That may be a different permutation, but I wouldn't be surprised if Ramaphosa wins on the second day. If the ANC or the collective decides, now we will elect Dlamini Zuma as his deputy, and then you have a form of unity.
Yeah. And besides, that's what has been proposed by many, not branches, also the positions of various provinces to say we want to come out of this united. And again, I think the whole notion of the winner takes it all. They need to know that the last 10 years, that's what has killed the ANC. Because some people who were defeated became actually more oppositional to the ANC as members of the ANC. They never recovered. So if you really want to make sure that you move together, then this is a possibility that you might want to explore.
What about the other positions then after deputy, or is it just getting the first two right going to be enough?
No, I think, but you will see that both camps have what Slate politics. There are preferred candidates to each candidate, for deputies. But I think that it may play out very, very differently.
Yeah.
It may, like I say, Dlamini Zuma may become a deputy. But I wouldn't be surprised if Ramaphosa wins, that most of the people on his slate will get important positions. But for me, it's much more important to see what happens at the NEC, who are elected to the NEC. Because if the president has the confidence of the NEC, he is well set. It may well turn out that Ramaphosa wins, say for instance, the presidency of the ANC, but within the National Executive Committee, the majority might be from another camp. And if the president is more or less like the same thing in Parliament. If the president doesn't have the confidence of Parliament, he's in trouble all the time. You would want Ramaphosa, if he wins, or Dlamini Zuma, if she wins, she would like to have the confidence of the NEC as well. So I will keep a close eye on who is elected to the NEC, who are the important positions within the NEC.
Yeah, but also just a point on the slate. If you also look at the slate and you look at the support that each one has got, you'll find that the lower positions is not always consistent with the top position. You find that you have the support of the president being around 400, and when you come to the Secretary General, you find that it's about 300. So effectively, people are not as passionate at that level, and I think there's a lot of horse trading that may take place around those lower positions.
All right, so we'll take a quick pause there, but when we come back, we'll have a fuller discussion about the issues ahead of the ANC 54, which starts in 2 days' time. We take a quick break. More Morning Live after this.